Welcome to Creepypasta by Axel D. Blaze. Hi. I don't know if this is the right place to post this, but I don't know who else to tell. My name's Jamie. I just got a job as a kitchen assistant at this fancy summer getaway in upstate New York. It's an exclusive, invite-only retreat for ultra-wealthy foodies. I won't say the name. God help me if they track this back to me, but you've never heard of it. Trust me. Anyway, this happened yesterday. It was 4:30 a.m. when I woke up. Grey light leaped through the blinds. One of those damp, cold mornings that just feels wrong, like the air is too still. I was nervous, sure, but also kind of excited. This was supposed to be my big break. I've always wanted to work in a real kitchen, not just flipping omelets at IHOP. I pulled on my uniform, plain black shirt, apron, and chef's pants that didn't quite fit, and drove through winding forest roads, the GPS barely holding a signal. The place was remote, tucked between thick trees and fogged-in lakes. I passed a rusty old sign, no address, no welcome center. The staff entrance was in the back of the main lodge, a sleek building that looked like a cross between a Scandinavian spa and a Bond villain's lair. When I stepped inside, it was warm and smelled like roasted garlic and lemon zest. That part was comforting, at first. They put me straight to work. The head chef, who I was never formally introduced to, everyone just called him Chef. He barely looked at me as he handed me a clipboard. Dishes, mop the prep floor, retrieve 3 pork racks, 10 duck breasts, and the blood sausage from the cooler. Go. Cool, fast-paced. I can handle that. I scrubbed in silence while the other chefs chopped, plated, and moved like a hive of angry bees. The guests wouldn't arrive until sundown, but prep was a war zone. Still, something felt off. It started small. The pork racks I hauled out of the cooler looked strange, too long, like someone had forgotten to butcher them correctly. The bones curved unnaturally, and the meat had this purplish hue. The dry stores had jars labeled in what looked like Latin. One simply said oculus, another said phalanx. I asked the sous chef what they were. He didn't answer, just smiled, tight-lipped. Around 2 p.m., I took a break behind the walk-in freezer. I needed a moment to breathe. That's when I noticed something that chilled me to my core. A smear of blood, not the kind that drips from sealed meat, ran under the freezer door. I opened it, against every instinct in my body. Inside was a row of hanging meat, but not just meat. One of them had a hand, a human hand. The nails were chipped, the skin bruised. I swear to God it was twitching. I backed out and slammed the door. I went to find the manager, some tall, smiling woman in a gray suit. I tried to explain what I saw. "You're doing very well, Jamie," she said, like I was a child in a school play. "Finish your shift. Dinner service is very important tonight." Then she touched my shoulder and whispered, "They paid extra for fresh." I ran. I didn't even grab my bag. I sprinted toward the employee exit, but it was locked. The windows were barred from the inside. I turned around to see Chef Renner watching me, wiping his hands with a white cloth stained red. The rest is a blur. I remember hiding behind a wine rack as someone dragged a screaming man across the prep floor. I remember crawling into the dumbwaiter and holding my breath as it lowered into a pantry filled with heads, preserved like cheese, tagged with names. I finally escaped through a laundry chute into the woods. I ran for 2 miles until I flagged down a ranger near Route 28. He looked at me like I was crazy. They found nothing when they went back. No lodge, no kitchens, just an empty clearing. They said I was probably hallucinating, exhaustion, stress, maybe even psychosis. but I know what I saw. And last night, outside my apartment, someone left a package. No return address. Inside, a vacuum-sealed fillet. And a note. You forgot your cut.
I was at my grandma's house. My grandma was a nice woman. She gave candy to kids on the streets. She opened the door for people, had a first aid kit to people who were injured. And I was trying to find the bathroom cause it was a new house. Then I saw a room. I opened it. I found letters and letters all signed, Susan Smith. My grandma's name. They had detailed accounts of rituals and murders, about how she cut the victim's eyes out, put legs where the arms should be, committed surgeries on live people, or held a gun to people's heads and forced them to draw horrific and terrifying cruel things. I was shocked. I kept digging and I found photos. It was photos of her victims' skinned organs removed, teeth pulled out. Then I found where she put the teeth, the candy she gave to kids on the street. I was disgusted. She had broken them into little pieces and put them in her candy. I had ate her candy before I immediately threw up. Then I found more, a room called Home Gym. It wasn't a gym, that was just a front. I found things that could only be used for physical and psychological torture, videos of people getting seriously hurt played over and over again. Bear traps with human limbs in them. A device where the picture explained a person was strapped to it only for a knife to be repeatedly stabbed into one spot in their back. I found cages of starved rats that were used to burrow into people. A bed of rocks that were hotter than the sun. People were strapped to that bed, I know from the ashes. Then I turned around and I saw her.
I posted the video to my account since they're not allowed on this sub. It's only 9 seconds long, but you'll get the gist. Give it a listen. First off, I'm not really a spiritual person, never have been. But ever since I started this new job, some weird stuff's been happening. I work private security for some high-profile clients out in the backwoods of the Midwest. My job is to sit overnight at their estate and keep watch while they sleep or go about their lives. For the past 7 months, things have just felt off. I've heard whispers, seen shadows pass in front of lights. The shadow thing could totally be a bug, I get that. I'm a skeptic, but sometimes I see shadows in the darkness, and that doesn't really make sense. You'd have to experience it to get what I mean. One time, I was using the bathroom in the secondary home, basically the building we're allowed to use for workouts, breaks, etc., and I heard a woman's voice say, "Hey, stop." I panicked and jogged upstairs, thinking the wife might need help, but she was across the property in their main house, nowhere near me. Later on, I mentioned it to her, and she said her husband had heard something similar before. A young woman's voice saying things like that. Anyway, tonight I was just scrolling through Twitter, passing the time, and I heard what sounded like a distant siren. But it didn't sound right. I've been in law enforcement my entire adult life, and I've never heard any emergency siren like that. And when I say distant, I mean miles away. But less than 20 seconds after I started recording, it sounded like it was less than a mile out. The change in distance felt wrong. That's when I got a little uneasy and called my best friend. He used to be obsessed with creepypastas, negative energy, stuff like that. I remembered him once mentioning siren noises in the woods in passing, so it stuck in my head. Like I said, I'm a skeptic, but with everything going on lately, I figured I'd drop a quick post here. If you do watch the video, sorry about the quality. I was pointing the camera at the ground, just trying to catch the sound more than anything else.
Hello, my name's John, and I guess this is my first time posting here. I'm a teenager, full of hormones and a bit of rage. I used to be the kind of kid who said yes to everything. Not because I was nice, I literally couldn't say no. But not anymore. My parents used to work for the government. Some kind of black budget operation. The kind nobody talks about. They were chemists, obsessed with control, obedience, and perfection. Their goal? Create a compound that would make people compliant, like completely compliant. Say yes to anything, do anything, no resistance, no free will. And guess who they tested it on? Me. They said they wanted a golden boy. A perfect son who always listened, always obeyed. So they made this compound into a topical cream. Said it was like sunscreen, good protection against UV rays. But it wasn't sunscreen. It was mind control. They started applying it when I was a toddler. Every single day. At first, it was little things. I hated vegetables, but I ate them when they told me to. I despised cleaning my room, but I did it without hesitation. It wasn't discipline. It was programming. My brain screamed, no, but my body said, yes. Every time someone gave me a command, do this, John, do that, John, my body would move before I could think. It was like being trapped inside a puppet. I could watch, but I couldn't stop it. As I got older, they increased the dosage. I guess kids need more control as they grow up. They didn't want a son. They wanted a slave. In grade school, the abuse got worse. My parents told the school I had a condition that I always said yes. They said it was harmless. Some of the staff didn't think so. Mrs. Amanda, my grade 2 math teacher, hated kids. One day I got caught peeking at a classmate's test. After class, she told me to hop on one leg for 15 minutes, then switch to the other. My legs shook. My ankles bruised. I cried. She told me if I reported it, I'd do it again, this time in front of the whole class. Then there was Fiona, the janitor. She made me clean toilets after school, stole my lunch, said I couldn't eat until I cleaned the bathroom spotless. I never had lunch in grade school. I was always hungry. But something changed when I hit high school. I think I built up a tolerance. The cream stopped working. The first time I said, no, I thought I was going to throw up. But nothing happened. No punishment. No twitching. No automatic movement. I had free will. My parents didn't like that. They tried increasing the dose. Even had me ingest it. But it didn't work anymore. They screamed, hit me, called me broken. That's when I snapped. In the middle of one of their tantrums, I shouted, stop. Kill yourselves. And they did. They froze like statues, walked to the kitchen, grabbed the knives, and did what I told them to do. I called 911. Told them everything. The cops looked at me like I was a freak. They brought me in, asked questions, and eventually released me to my grandparents. I love my grandparents. I do. I'd never hurt them. But I started testing my new ability, not just resistance, but command. I told them to buy me junk food. They did. I told them to do my laundry and clean my room. Done, no hesitation. And last night, I told them I'm going to find Amanda and Fiona. And they said, okay, sweetheart. Whatever you need. I'm not writing this for attention. I don't care if you believe me or not. I just need to get it out before I start to forget, like the others did. If this post gets deleted, or if I disappear, stay away from the woods near Eskishehir. It happened in November 2022. Me and 3 friends from university, Jem, Mehmet, and Ali, decided to go camping before winter fully hit. We found a forest area on Google Maps that didn't even have a name. No towns nearby, no signs of civilization. We thought, perfect. No tourists, no noise. Except, that forest did have a name. Locals whispered it, the Woman's Woods. But we found that out way too late. The second night, the air got weirdly cold. Not just chilly, bone-deep cold, like the trees themselves were holding their breath. Around 2:30 a.m., a heavy fog rolled in, thicker than anything I've ever seen. We could barely see past our own hands. That's when we heard it. A dragging sound, like chains across damp leaves. And then, a voice. Not loud, but somehow right behind us. Have you seen him? Has he come back? We froze. I thought it was a joke. Jem laughed nervously and yelled, Mehmet, quit screwing around. But Mehmet was right next to me, shaking. Then, we saw a light in the fog. A dim yellow glow, swaying back and forth, like an old lantern, and behind it, a figure. A woman, tall, thin, not quite touching the ground. We couldn't make out her face, but her hands. Long, blackened fingers twitching at her sides. She stepped forward, slowly, dragging the light with her. Then that whisper again, clearer this time. "Mehmet, where are you?" We ran. We didn't pack anything. We didn't look back, just bolted out of the trees. Fog clawed at our legs like it didn't want us to leave. And when we finally got out of the woods, panting, covered in scratches, we realized something horrifying. Jem wasn't with us. His tent was found, untouched. His phone, bag, even his shoes, still there. But no sign of him. Ever. We told the police. They searched for days. Nothing. The locals didn't look surprised. One old man said, "If you see the lantern, don't answer. Don't even look. She's still searching for him." We thought he meant Jem. He didn't. He meant her husband, lost in war over 100 years ago. She never found him. Now she looks for him in every man she sees. If you dream of a lantern in the fog, don't follow it. Because she'll think you're him. And she never lets him leave.
We moved into this weird little cottage about 2 weeks ago. Real old, crooked floors, ivy on the windows. One of those places that looks like it has a story to tell. I thought it was charming. I was wrong. The first couple nights were fine. Quiet, cold, but fine. But on the third night, I started hearing things. Not the usual old house creaks. These were whispers, like the floorboards themselves were trying to talk. Not loud, not even words. Just this low, dragging sound in the hallway. Like fabric across wood, or breathing. Then came 3:17 a.m. Every night, that exact time, I'd wake up. No sound, no movement, just a sudden jolt. Like something pulled me awake. I'd check the time. Always 3:17. Always freezing. Always this feeling like someone was standing just outside the door. Night 5, I heard knocking. But not on the door. It came from under my bed. 3 slow, soft knocks. Like fingertips on wood. Tap, tap, tap. I checked, of course. Nothing there. No one outside. No pipes. I even laughed at myself. Thought maybe I was dreaming. But it kept happening. So on night 7, I put my phone on the floor and hit record. Just to prove I wasn't going crazy. The next morning I listened back. Hours of silence. Then, right at 3:17 a.m., the static kicked in. Real quiet at first, then louder. Until I heard a voice. It was right next to the mic. Low, croaky. "You're in my room." I swear my stomach turned. I couldn't move. Then I heard my own voice. Whispering in my sleep. I know. I don't remember saying that. I don't remember any dreams. But that night, I ripped up the floorboards in my room. Just screw it, ripped them up with a crowbar. I don't even know what I was expecting. But under the oak, there was another layer of wood. Older, rotting. I kept going, and that's when I found her. A girl, curled up, dead, obviously. Skin like wax, eyes scratched out, like she'd done it herself. Her mouth was open, like she'd been screaming for years. I blacked out. Honest to God, just collapsed. But before I hit the ground, I swear I saw her eyes move. Just a little. She blinked.